Yeah, thank you for that one. At this point, we weren't able to do so for the first series, but hopefully we can do it for this one, because yesterday you and I, Kenobi, were able to go to 10 maps with at least these series specifically for these two, and now we're entering to see them battle against one another and could be seeing another map 5. And I'm pretty joyful at how this is going to pan out.
Yeah, we'll put some of our caster cursing ether and aura into the universe to try and get this one to 5, so don't you worry. I mean, this is interesting in the matchup because we do have that storyline about the fact that Danteh is playing against their old team, but also Gladiators, by all accounts, it felt like, really shouldn't have been here. Obviously, the Scrimbuck stock exchange completely shattered yesterday. Everyone thought this was a very easy Atlanta win, but Gladiators really came to play yesterday, and off the back of Kepster and Kai. But also, I think Danteh deserves a lot of credit in terms of how he was able to play. A lot of questions came in about their ability to play Winston, about their ability to be a solo tank. And while maybe the mechanics aren't there to match up against someone like yesterday we saw like on Donghack or Hawk, the brain is still there, but this is an entirely different beast. Danteh is playing against the greatest Winston of all time right now in Fearless, and this matchup is unlike anything that the Gladiators have seen yet. So this is going to be a really interesting matchup to look at, and we already see Pelican out on their signature Echo. We saw this in our previous series, where on the other end, the Cassidy was able to get a lot of value against the Echo in the air, so Kai is going to be looking to put that pressure onto the Echo.
Yeah, and I'm also really looking forward to seeing how that matchup for Danteh to Fearless is going to be, just because when you're looking at it in the faces, you can see Kai getting happy up on the high ground, and Glad's out the gate saying, we are here to stay, and we're going to prove everyone wrong.
I mean, I wonder if they even thought that that was a possibility, that Happy could die there, but one click from Kai, which is something that we saw yesterday. There are times where this DPS duo will just win fights outright by just their raw mechanical skill. A nice ante from Babel comes in to stop Houston Outlaws from growing aggressively again, and Fearless is already getting extremely low.
Yeah, heavily punished now. The barrier is gone. There's no jump just yet, waiting for it to come off a cooldown as Pelican is nearby. Resetting to look for a flanking angle, forcing Glads just outside of the point. Contest available as you've got Pelican taking this flanking angle. Danteh gets hit by the Bionade, but they're still able to work through and persevere underneath that archway.
Now, Kai is able to take down Happy again, and Pelican at this point, like, just isn't getting as much pressure as I think they would like. Kai has been doing so much in terms of just that ability to continuously put out that pressure, right? Pelican, a lot of it comes from that burst. Yes, you have some spam, but it's a lot about that burst combo, and you can see Fearless, whenever they're entering into these fights, they're already half health because the DPS are just doing so much work. Look at him again. He has to jump out.
Yeah, it's always on a defensive mentality, leading in now finally to try and take 2, but the nade does land. Nano isn't going to amplify just enough, as you do have both Happy and Pelican sweeping in to give the extra necessary damage to take down 2.
And that's kind of when you just have to take on the chin if you're the Gladiators there. That was a nanoed monkey. Yes, you could have committed some sort of ultimates to kind of win that one back, and Kepster did throw out Pulse Bomb, but it's not too bad of a macro loss for them because now they can come in with their own nano boost. They will have to deal with quite a bit from the Houston Outlaws side. The rally is going to make it a little bit difficult for Danteh to get a lot of value with this Primal because of that healing, but one of the things you can do is juggle the Brigitte potentially away from the rest of the team, and then Kepster and Kai can pounce.
Pulse Bomb does stick, managing to get Astro. Fearless also follows through. Outlaws going to make quick work of this second engage, and the Nano Boost really didn't give much value to Kai in the long run.
Yeah, and Danteh also Primal Rage during this fight. So when we talked about kind of coming back into this from a macro perspective, Houston Outlaws use a lot, but also the Glads did as well. So now we're much more in the neutral. Pelican's got a duplicate too, so that's going to make it even harder for the Gladiators to enter here. They do have a sound barrier to tempo out, but because of the fact that Pelican's got a dupe, well, if Happy's dead, that makes this way harder than it is. So Gladiators now have an advantage to go forward.
And it's like deja vu from the initial fight when you had Kai take down Happy again. That's going to lean into this very favorable, playing close to that pillar. You even have that nade potentially going to draw them back to not be clipped by it, and they can get even closer to this 99.
And now this High Noon's going to get a lot of value right here where it is because you can just zone off members, and Pelican might have to just use dupe, but oh, a nade comes in huge from Babel, and the flank is going to work perfectly for the Glads.
Yep, great synergy allowing them to take this, and things get really dire right now because of how forward you're going to have Glads play.
And look at how, I love how aggressive they're being too. They're trying to get these picks off the back end. Danteh goes a little bit too aggressive though. That's flying way too close to the sun. Icarus style right there. And now Houston Outlaws can aggress.
Yep, and it gives them a chance to swap this back, but still, at a 90+%, ultimates are going to come back online for Gladiators, and there's a lot of tension and pressure on the shoulders of the Outlaws to take this as they reach the overtime. Babel goes down, and that's going to lean heavily as they only look to commit this duplicate for now. They actually have the Nano as well onto Fearless, and they're struggling to get these final pickups until both Danteh and Kai go back to spawn.
But it's totally fine for them because if the Houston Outlaws in this next fight, they do have a Brigitte rally to work with. The thing about it is that the scariest part is that Kevster's coming in with Pulse Bomb. If Kevster can somehow find Violet during that rally, the fight completely ends for the Houston Outlaws. So that's something you got to be looking out for. And with Gladiators, they can also aggress and take a lot of space with Nano Danteh going forward.
Happy looking to try and get the better end first before Kevster can do so. What a shutdown onto Babel. The Nano Boost still able to be active for this engagement to lean in for this final fight as they are just approaching the 99. Happy on the outskirts though, dashing rapidly through the architecture. They need to get back to contest. They keep it into the overtime, but Glads are going to look for one last regroup to see if they can turn this back over with this lead in from Fearless too.
And I don't even know if they have the damage. I mean, the high noon is here from Kai trying to just zone, but actually doesn't manage to find anything. They do find the backline. She was taken down by Mega Grenade.
Oh, you have now the return with the Primal Rage. A sleep attempted, but instantly broken. Glad's going to be reduced to nothing as Outlaws in this initial round. Well, actually, Funny Astro and Kevster are holding on to this. They're looking to swap it back, and Outlaws at this point are going to be the ones that have to scramble, and they don't take it. What just happened?
Astro's insane. Astro is absolutely insane. The fact that he booped in Fearless while he was in Primal into the pit and just won that fight completely for the Glads. Glads, without that, no way they win there. There's absolutely no way, but somehow, some way, which is how the Glads have gotten to this point, when the fights are devolved, when they kind of can just go mano-y-mano, as you'll see with this boop right here. I mean, this wins them the round. 100% wins them the round right here.
The timing, the angle, just perfection as they will be knocked into their doom. The darkness overwhelms them, and that allows a first round victory as we enter into the second.
I mean, this is the thing about this Gladiators team, right, that I was talking about, where it's like when you get into these like very devolved, chaotic fights, the mechanical skill of the Gladiators is so good, especially with all of their players, that they can just mechanically win fights like that. Kai and Kevster did it yesterday. Danteh has sometimes done it. Now we're seeing Funny Astro on their patented Lucio win a fight just off the virtue of their mechanical skill. As we go into this map, Happy is getting pressured out here, which is what I like, actually. Danteh taking the space away off the high ground, so that way Happy can't just stand on ceremony and free fire into the team.
Yeah, because we've seen what this Ashe play can do on the high ground, just free farming, and they eliminate Happy because Kai gets some follow-up, and Danteh continues to divert between these two high ground balconies, completely taking control of the space.
Dude, look at the movement from Danteh. Dante's just jumping everywhere, and this is something that the Outlaws aren't really used to, because the Outlaws are usually the ones who are always moving first, being the aggressors, but the Gladiators are kind of fighting them on their own territory, and it's working for a little bit, but unfortunately, eventually, the DPS of the Houston Outlaws put that to bed.
Yep, not going to commit the Primal. They've gained a decent percentage. There's rotation now from Outlaws, as it will be an opportunity for Glads to stabilize and come back in and see what they can do with this now that they've got quite a bit of ultimates going to be online soon.
Danteh has Primal extremely fast here. I don't think that's something that the Outlaws might necessarily know is going to be happening, so you can get incredibly aggressive if you're Danteh in this scenario. Houston Outlaws, though, coming up towards two key support ultimates that are going to be very impactful, bringing in that Nano and also the rally to potentially negate the incoming damage from the LA Gladiators.
Danteh had to force it, was so low on this Winston play, and because they have that saving grace, that aggression, as you mentioned, continues to pursue down below, but a sleep hits them, while Babel underneath continues to keep this team flowing. And you've got Danteh now with the Nano Boost afterwards. Kevster finds a Pulse Bomb onto Happy in the wings. And that will be a chance now for Gladiators to focus up, cycle back, and get to the point, swapping it away. The juggle continues, though, from Fearless, and Kai doesn't have a parachute on the way down. They might have given it over for a moment, but Houston keeps it going.
That's classic Fearless right there. I don't think Kai touched the ground until he was literally off the map. That was an insane juggle from Fearless. A lot committed, though, by the Outlaws to win that fight. They are taking up that percentage a little bit higher than the LA Gladiators right here, but there is going to be that rally for Funny Astro. So there is going to be a point at this fight where there is going to be that rally armor ticking up. It's going to be on Happy here to try and get this Bob and be able to make this a 6v5 to match some of the sustainability Gladiators going to have.
Yep. Nice whip shot, denying Dante's entry, where there's been much success prior. Fearless gets at least one, even exchange though 1-for-1 with Happy gone. They don't really have Bob to contribute into this and have to wait until they can regroup, but Fearless still being very aware of the positioning to keep this contested, as you do have both supports rotate from Gladiators onto it, surrounding Fearless, jumping up top, and now with Pelican attempting a pulse bomb, it goes wide. They don't get the numbers advantage here, and this is becoming challenging as both Anna's eliminated. Happy with Bob gives the extra assistance, and they're climbing still with percentage.
Yeah, and Gladiators have to get out of dodge because they're going to get one singular last fight here. Kevster's going to have the Pulse Bomb available to them, and Nano is going to be available for Danteh as well as a Primal Rage. So the sustainability is there from the Gladiators to try and reel this one back, but Outlaws are in such a good position right now. They have to be careful of where Happy is.
Overtime triggered, Happy on the cross side from the Lighthouse. Different angle that they're taking with the coverage from Fearless. Now with Kevster looking to swap it back. They look to bamboozle Outlaws for the moment. Fearless is nano boosted but slept, so it won't get any value. They take this back. Violet's been pulsed, and Glad's in a good spot.
Yeah, Glad's though, I mean, the thing about this is they commit two ultimates. They actually layer the Nano on top of the Primal Rage because Danteh was 1 health, and I think that there was just a little bit of miscommunication, so probably wanting that one back coming into this next fight as Houston Outlaws will return. Happy is going on to the Cassidy themselves to offer just a little bit more of that brawl potential against the Winston because Danteh has kind of just sat in the face of the supports right now, and they can't really do anything unless they have any of their cooldowns to like sleep or whip shot away.
Kai in the back, looking for that Deadeye opportunity when they move out to zone them away. The first initial jump from Fearless. Big Bionate onto Funny Astro. There is a quick Peacemaker fan the hammer onto that to see if they can get any value onto it, but Dante's eliminated. Pulse Bomb comes in. Pelican doing work right now on this Tracer play to swap it back. It's going to be extremely difficult to get back to even contest this. No one is here to touch it. The numbers are far too few in between, and this will be Outlaws able to take this second round and bring it into a third.
And that fight was all off the back of Shu hitting that huge anti-nade onto Funny Astro, so that Babel had to commit the nade of his own to heal up Funny Astro and didn't have it to heal up Danteh, and that's exactly when the Houston Outlaws pounced onto Danteh, took them down, and once the tank is gone in these scenarios, it's basically a done deal, especially if you have a 5v4 advantage, as we have a 1-1 score here on submaps. Maybe we have, Rich, done our thing, and we've put map 5 Ether into the world, you know, maybe we're doing it.
Boogity boogity, boogity boogity. Just let's make it happen.
That's not our call. Please, no, can we?
It's not our call. I don't know. It could be. But we're gonna talk
5 like 3 times in the mirror. You know, like
we could. It's like Beetlejuice. But we're gonna look at the replay though as we banter amongst it with Pelican just again cleaning up on this Tracer, getting so much value here towards the tail end of this to swap it back, leading it back into their favor and not feeling uncomfortable at all. But back to our conversation that we should say it 3 times. I'm pretty sure that that's the go-to.
Okay, map 5, map 5,
map 5,
map 5,
map 5. I have to say it again, map 5. Now I did it.
We got it.
We got it.
You're welcome, chat. Anyway,
Yes.
As we see Houston Outlaws go into this map in particular, you see Pelican is back on that Tracer, which is, I think, much better than what we saw from Happy specifically. So this dive is much more standard to what the Houston Outlaws is used to running here, where you have this fighter pilot formation of Pelican, Happy, and Fearless to just go on one of the backline members.
Looking to see what their maneuverability is as fighter pilots, with Pelican rounding the ramp, has to force the recall, needs to allow them to play a little bit more defensively here since they have no ability to get out outside of the dashes, but with a mega pack near, it gives them a chance to recontest onto this point, but it's Gladiators still managing to work their way through this, keep composure, and take the fight.
And this is one of the things that if you can do against the Houston Outlaws, you can win a lot of these matchups. If you can just weather the storm. Babel spent that entire fight under like 75 health, but the peel was there. It was perfectly played. The cooldown management was perfect as well. The bubble from Danteh to keep them alive. Also, the nade was perfectly placed from Babel. The boost from Funny Astro. If you can weather the storm of the initial dive from the Outlaws, you can just go back in and recontest, because a lot of what the Outlaws do is just go in once and kill someone. But if they can't do that, the mid-fight is where the Gladiators can survive a lot more.
And we've seen that consistently from them. Their ability to just maintain so much mental focus through those intense actions is so critical and vital to their success. As the nano boost now comes out from Babel, you've got the pulse bomb onto 2. Pelican comes way too close for comfort. Says, "Are you okay, Fearless? Are you okay?" And then falls alongside them.
Minesweeper. But Pelican's like, "Oh, is this a 3? Is just a 1?" Oh, and then he just ends up going.
Yo, I was so good at that game, by the way.
I was so bad. I don't even know how it works still. I just saw a TikTok once that said 3 and 1. So anyways.
All right. As we now look to the next engagement, 50+% here for Glads, wanting to close out this map of control. Happy in the wings, looks for the hack, diving with Fearless. Their health values are very low, and you even have the Primal Rage committed into this, and slept, but is broken to dive away to restructure how they want to enter back into this, and Glads are actually pretty happy about this, and they get both supports.
Yeah, and I mean, that was actually really well played. Pelican is going to take down. I don't know if that's going to be out. Fearless is so low, and the supports just aren't here for the Outlaws. Gladiators play that so perfectly well. Again, the peel that they give to Funny Astro is impeccable, because Funny Astro doesn't die. He can come back in and tempo beat, and now Houston Outlaws, looking at the end here. Happy against Kai! You know you can't do that against Kai!
You can see the facial reaction. Yeah, you just see Happy and Cam just like, "Oh, come on, really? You should know that."
I mean, he doesn't have EMP now. He doesn't have EMP.
5%. The time is dwindling. Someone's got to touch. They get onto it, but Pelican has lost the recall again, only being even more vulnerable. The dive, a nano from Fearless. They are on a desperate lifeline to keep this in their favor. There is an EMP that does clip 1. Danteh couldn't get that Primal Rage out, so there is a massive opportunity of return on this, and you have Houston Outlaws by the skin of their teeth able to swap it back.
Yeah, very lucky that they were still able to kind of juggle that point and keep it so that Happy could come back with that EMP. But Gladiators, I mean, they're totally fine taking that fight, right? Houston used 3 ultimates. Both their support ultimates are out. Nano's going to be available for Babel that he can just throw onto Kai or Danteh and just get them to brute force their way onto this point, because it's last fight territory for them.
There's a great opportunity with the ultimate economy for Gladiators. A couple in sight. Pelican really being the only one actually that is able to contribute something if they can get it in time. Hack onto Danteh, forces out the Primal Rage the second that it dissipates.
Oh, he found Happy.
Yep, knocking him away. You not in this fight, Happy. It's not gonna feel happy. It's gonna feel really, really sad. As Kevster gets 2, Fearless and Violet gone. Gladiator is able to come back in this despite the attempts from Outlaws, and they will strip away this map 1, and Kevster just wants to put salt in the wound.
Dude, they love the C9s. I mean, yesterday we saw Kevster hit C9 or type C9 during an overtime fight in map 5. Insanity from Kevster right there. But hey, if you're playing as well as he is, you know, do whatever you want at that point. I think that the Gladiators, I think now we can kind of cement this as a little bit of a Cinderella run for them, right? Like, I think that in true March Madness fashion, not regardless if they even get to like the grand finals and win this series, the fact that they were able to beat Atlanta, the fact that they're playing close to Houston, one of the best teams that we have. I mean, there was a lot of talk about this Gladiators team and the Scrimbucks and everything about it, but when you've got a collection of players who are this talented and now they seem to be clicking on all cylinders, like even what we talked about on Ilios, the fact that like Babel could stay alive against a dive of Happy, Pelican, and Fearless is insanity to me. That just proves how cohesive this unit is and how much they seem to trust in each other.
Yeah, and what Kevster's been able to do over the course of this to continue elevating the team, and even here, moments like those have really changed the outcome, the tempo, control, the stride of these fights. And I cannot wait to see how this next map is going to unfold with them. But as we've completed this first one, again, hoping, we're knocking on wood, we're saying our little chant, we're looking for more maps to go just past these initial 3. And I think these 2 teams are going to be willing to give us that. So don't go anywhere, friends, because we'll be back with the next map in just a moment.
That is the delay tactics widely deal in a 4v5. Oh, not quite so much anymore. Kevster dishing out the damage.
This is giving me vibes of Florida against the Atlanta Rain.
What is dirty?
A rough return here, just kind of getting bullied.
That is it. Wave hello, maybe goodbye to the rest of your team, Decay, because Lastro's on the field, Nano's in just to keep him alive. Rolling, trying to keep everybody alive, and Hydron, oh boy, punched into oncoming traffic. Danteh shuts him down.
That sign just looks so glorious, Kenobi, as we're back here. So I know, it really is. As we're back now to continue moving forward, we know what the next map is going to be, and we've got some adjustments coming in to see if we can have some different outcomes here. We've already, I think, been a little bit surprised at the fact that map 1 goes in favor of Gladiators, but, you know, we're going to take a look at some adjustments that they want to actually have going into this next one of Blizzard World.
Yeah, Lastra coming in makes sense, but Yaki is someone we haven't seen since the group stages, and coming in for Kai, who it's interesting to me because Kai has been playing so well, but as we're going to be going on to Blizzard World, this opens up an opportunity for Yaki to play in Echo if it's something that they want to, you know, try out, opt in for. Yaki's Tracer is also something that we've kind of only seen from him so far when he's been in the lineup. So for the Gladiators, feels like they have something ready and planned for Blizzard World. And I mean, I'm not shocked Houston Outlaws are on this map because you have one of the best backlines in the league in Shu and Violet, and if they can play those long range, you know, your Anas and your Zens, even the Brigitte has kind of looked really good from Violet. This feels like a map that's perfectly made for them.
Yeah. And we'll be able to see if they make it a 1-to-1 score or Gladiators are able to outmatch them with these adjustments in the roster to see if they can lean into those alternative strengths. And just like you specifically mentioned with the adjustment of Kai, because they have been playing so well. And Yaki, now we get them on the main stage here towards this bracket segment of this remaining day. And we're going to actually have Outlaws on the attack first with Glads on the defense.
Okay, this is just a troll. Yeah, okay.
Kevster, we get you, Kevster. We get you, Kevster. You just having a good old time. I was also going to say, maybe Kevster just has, like, a deck on the side that automatically types in C9. Like, they don't even have to, like, push enter.
No, he's got enough APM. He's got enough APM to do it.
That's true. That's true.
He's got enough APM to be able to do it in match chat whenever they would like to be doing it. But interestingly enough, Yaki's going to be on the Sombra, so it feels like this is Gladiators throwing down a little bit of a gauntlet, like to Houston Outlaws, saying like, hey, if you want to play this very aggressive, high-tempo style with the Sombra and the Tracer like we've known them to do on this map, then we're going to try and match it the best that we can here, as Yaki already poking and looking for some information. We do have Violet on the Brigitte again, so not opting in for the Zenyatta on the offense side, bringing in that Brig to be able to get those whip shots and help out Pelican a little bit in that 1v1.
Yeah, versus the Zen or other options to help increase the damage. There is a nice hack into the back, though, onto Shu. Easy translocate out here from Yaki to regroup with the squad, as Danteh looks to play off-center for the moment until regrouping with the team. Happy looking for an angle to get a couple of decent shots, just eludes the nade before getting delve onto, so it's not as optimal for this engagement from Glads. Yaki being very dangerously low, gets 2 and actually gets out scot-free here.
Everyone's getting out scot-free. Look at the health bars of the LA Gladiators during that fight, and I mean, the counter dive was so well played from them. Houston Outlaws, they saw that Yaki had translocated away, and they're like, okay, we're going to try and dive onto that high ground and see if we can do anything. But Gladiators had reset quickly enough to where Yaki could get into that backline, and Dante's dive was perfect onto Shu, and they just get that kill. So his defense already off at a perfect start. Kevster close towards that pulse bomb, and Lastro's almost got a nano.
And you can see this wide angle from Pelican getting sought out, though Kevster keeping so much awareness to where they're at. There's a double take here for Danteh, 2 to add to the board, as once again, Los Angeles Gladiators able to really throttle against Outlaws, and Outlaws are having a problem getting through this.
This is so strange, because when we looked at Houston and like what the success was like they were going first all the time, right? They're playing aggressive. They're the ones who are setting the tempo. Glads right now are currently have full control of this tempo right now. They are not letting go. They're the ones who are moving first, and now Houston Outlaws have to walk into an EMP, and it's going to be very hard for them to set up and stage this dive because Yaki's going to have all that information.
Oh, detection. Just passing by silently as Yaki with the EMP looks to take advantage of the 3 in the back. Maneuverability with that fearless positioning up top for an opportunity to dive in onto this. Danteh does have the primal now, though, was able to get enough chip damage out so that they have it available for this engagement as the EMP hits onto Shu. Nano is activated. Violet gives enough coverage here in the back line to support and prevent them from getting the shutdown, but Danteh, with that primal rage as generated, finds value elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, they try their best to weather the storm of the EMP, but the healers just aren't there for the rest of the team. Danteh does get anti here, though. Can he survive? He manages to get out 100 health.
Yep. Nice recovery here from the supports, topping him up, eludes the pulse bomb. Now the Kitsune rush is going to give much more value on the defense for Glads as they dive into the back. The pulse bomb going to put insult to injury, but as they aggress forward, Outlaws able to hold strong. They break the shields, and now we're looking to play to the point.
Yeah, I mean, the Gladiators saw red there, especially with how Violet was a little bit too over-aggressive, and the Pulse Bomb almost hit. Actually, Nano onto Babel. Okay, this is a bit of an interesting decision, I think, right now.
Yeah, a little bit. As they look for another entry.
Stall.
They do. They're getting it just before completion. 3% is all that remains. A couple of decent shots.
Dude,
Yaki
no
gets
way.
Violet. Are they going to pull this off? They've gotten two. Pelican low. The recall is gone. And Babel is like, hi, friend. Come right back into my hitbox.
I'm sorry, Lastro. I'll never doubt you again. Do whatever you want on. I mean, he nanos Babel to, I guess, keep him alive during that fight. And Kevster was able to juggle enough to where they could get back onto the point. Lastro hits the fattest nade onto the backline of the Outlaws. And a fight that looked like completely in favor of the Outlaws is doomed. And there's only 30 seconds left. They got to get someone to the point, actually, Rich. 9.
They've got to jump into this, and it's going to leave them so vulnerable because they'll have to commit so many cooldowns to at least just get it into contention. Danteh low, big pickup though. Lastro and Babel withstanding a lot of that frontline pressure. The nano boost for Fearless getting the extra damage, but not going to get near the Primal Rage fast enough. And there is now only a few that remain for Gladiators, and it is going to be Outlaws with the last few moments able to clutch this out and transition into the streets phase.
Danteh died with Primal.
Yep.
Oh, it's heartbreaking for the LA Gladiators. They played that defense so incredibly well, and now as we go to second, this might be an opportunity where Houston Outlaws can finally take a little bit more space, right? They can play a little bit more freeform. It's a lot more open in this area, but again, they're walking into a lot of key ultimates from the Gladiators, so they might be able to just stifle the entirety of the push from the Outlaws right here, right now.
Yaki, just hum the elevator song until the moment arises. Da-na-na-na-na. Now, with a pickup onto Happy, just making quick work of this. Now following forward onto the rest, and Outlaws are going to say, all right, let's not just yet jump and dive into this as it's electrocuting one another. Hack comes in as well onto Fearless, having to force them back for the moment so they can recover. But the spawn advantage is in favor of Outlaws, and they are going to commit the rally. Big sleep onto Danteh and forces out the Primal since they weren't able to use it on that initial defense.
Kitsune Rush is available though from Babel. He can use it to try and stall a little bit here, but Shu is actually down.
Nanoed as well onto Danteh while still in Primal. They've slept. Fearless, you are left alone with nowhere to go. Cage the animal and send them back.
I mean, if you were to take the nameplates off right now of both of these teams and tell me, guess who's who? I would think that the Houston Outlaws, or the Gladiators were the Houston Outlaws. They're playing the exact game that Houston is known for playing, but it feels like they're playing it better.
They've really elevated themselves, and it's in these moments when stakes continue to rise that they're able to play with this magnitude. Now as they draw back, they give space. Unfortunately, Lastro goes down because Fearless gets the better end of it. And they're going to buy some more space to rotate around this cafe and will look for these last 40 seconds to reach this completion.
Fearless has the Primal available to him as well as the Namo. Just stomps directly onto Babel, and we'll probably find Yaki at the end of this.
I don't need to jump. I'm just going to right click. No worries. That's fine. I'll charge it up. Bye. They're going to even force them back. They're going to guarantee this. They need to look for one more contest on this, but it's not going to be clean unless they finally get the recovery with Danteh. Now going to look to dive in onto this. The EMP is available. Harassment from Fearless. Gets Lastro again on the backside. Suzu keeps Danteh alive, but Happy's right there the second that it goes away. And that's going to be another checkpoint reached.
Yeah, Fearless is starting to take over this game right now, giving it a lot more freedom at these moments. He's really finding the backline and dodge. I mean, the fact that he's able to dodge a lot of these cooldowns, specifically from that backline, is pretty impeccable. And with the Gladiators sticking onto this composition of the Ana and of the Kiriko, they only really have the Sleep Dart as a way to stop Fearless from going in. They don't have a to be able to whip shot as well. They don't have a Lucio to stifle that dive, and Fearless is just taking that advantage wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and Lastro continues to get blasted by Fearless every time they jump into that, and even that most recent one we saw, the assistance from Pelican. Pelican has like 1 HP, finally goes down, Babel gets the pickup, and now Kevster's able to retaliate, so they hold this, they stem the bleeding, and only have 50 seconds to go.
But there is that big ultimate from Happy, the EMP coming into this next fight, as well as the rally armor to be able to help them sustain through. But Gladiators, in their own right, have both their support ultimates available to them, so this is going to be a fight where the sustainability is kind of matched here, but Gladiators can cause a lot of disruption with the Primal Rage coming in from Fearless.
We'll keep a watchful eye. And the positioning that's coming through from Happy, they lead with the rally early enough to give the armor. The hack didn't come in fast enough, so Babel was able to swift step out. Primal from Danteh eliminates Shu, so they need to commit this EMP, but two are hit by that grenade, and it allows Fearless to be shut down. The hopes that Outlaw had with that EMP were just completely shut and thrown into the dirt. The defensive prowess of Gladiators is absolutely on point to not allow Outlaws a clean completion on this final point.
I mean, Violet's able to take down Kevster, and they're stalling right here. Fearless is close towards Primal Rage. If he can stay alive and get nanoed, this might be a moment where Houston can recontest.
Yeah, they're going to have now Danteh force back. The swift step is gone. You need to be careful for Outlaws since they've spent a lot of cooldowns to sustain through that. There is a respawn advantage for Gladiators as well. The further this pushes back, Danteh is eliminated. Gladiators have to let this go for the moment. They've lost too much and they need to recover.
Yeah, and look at this. They can take so much space for themselves because they know they have such a macro advantage. They just have to be worried about Yaki's EMP here. That's going to be the biggest thing that can stifle Houston from capping this map, because if everything else goes to plan, they should be able to.
Nano onto Fearless, harassing the back, EMP active, looking to take them down.
Big
Slept
sleep
onto Fearless. That gives a window, a chance.
Oh,
They're
no!
off the point and they can't get it. Kevster! C9. We're never gonna get old. I'm sorry. I know that there are people who are gonna get mad at us for this, but it's just so true. Like, we even have a replay of this. Prod just knows. Like, we're going to show this to you.
I mean, the sleep from Lastro was sick, though. That was really important to that, and I think that they were thinking that they could probably get someone back on, especially with Primal Rage. But that was unfortunate, to say the least, for the Outlaws, because they had everything in their back pocket to be able to win that.
Yeah, and again, we wanted to be respectful to your ears as well and not go too over the top with that, because, you know, we have to be respectful and not blaring that into the mic for all of you, so you're welcome. As we're switching sides now, and we can take a quick look while they are prepping for their defense, and we get a clean shot. Yeah, we can take a brief moment.
I'm wondering what happens here. Pelican like goes in, they're juggling.
I think it's a dash
Fearless
off.
isn't there.
Yeah, it's a dash off.
Oh, he just dashes off,
yeah,
and dashes too far, and they can't get back on. I think they're thinking, like, I mean, maybe they're thinking that, like, Fearless can get back in time and it's not going to go down as much as they thought it would, because that was, like, instantly, whereas as soon as Pelican and no one's there, it just instantly vanished.
Well, it's also, I think, a little bit of potential miscommunication with Pelican and Violet. They were both there kind of stutter-stepping of who's going to be the one to stick onto it. And at that point, Pelican made the decision for the dash, and Violet was just too far. But with the swap of sides, again, the mark has been set. Glads know exactly where they need to be to take this map. As on the defensive side, Happy's going to be here to look for an early pickup onto Kevster, but is just going to translocate, because that got a little dicey.
That one was close. He got a haircut. Happy got a haircut right there. Kevster was not playing in that moment. That could have been disastrous, but the Gladiators swap back up their composition. Bring Lastro onto the Brigitte this time. Actually, no, swapping back over. Okay, well, which one, Lastro? Come on, let's figure it out here. Going to the Brig, going to be their choice right now, which is, again, the thing about the Brigitte that works so well now that we're seeing is in these brawl situations, it works well for Inspires, but also you can use those boops to be able to negate the dives coming onto you from Fearless.
Yaki getting pressured quite a bit. Translocator not too far behind in case needing as a safety net. Round in the corner now, entering stealth. There's a retreat, though, from Danteh for the moment to attempt stability. Gaining those cooldowns back up for the barrier to harass the back line. Nice job. Kevster still putting in a lot of work to go down, and that is Gladiators able to overwhelm once again through this long run engagement, just perfectly keeping all the timing and their ability usage to the best of their ability.
And that was beautifully played from the entirety of Gladiators, but specifically the information they got from Yaki to focus down Pelican, because they know that Pelican does not have a true pocket, right? Kevster does because he has Brigitte, but Pelican, once he uses Recall, it's really on the behest of the mechanical skill of Violet or Shu to try and keep him alive, but the entirety of Gladiators just dove onto them, took him down, and that fight was completely over before it even started. And now Gladiators, look at their ultimate economy. I mean, they can run through second point very easily with these ultimate rotations.
So much to work with. Happy needs to get a great hack here, but unfortunately you're going to see Yaki do it first. Support eliminated. Danteh hit at least by the nade, and both supports are not present, so that gives a massive opportunity for Outlaws to take advantage of this and deny any further progression as the rest of the staggers come through.
Yeah, Fearless is really trying right now to just like bring this game back to an even keel, because he's really the one who's putting the pressure onto that backline. If, you know, Babel can't hit sleep, or if Lastro can't hit a whip shot, he does get a lot of value going into that backline, especially with Pelican in their back pocket. Is Happy now looking for that backline, has EMP available to them, but let's see what the Gladiators are going to do staging wise. There's the hack.
Babel getting delve onto. There's the pulse bomb to guarantee it. They wanted to put a nail in the coffin to ensure that the supports are eliminated, buying even more time for them defensively to force back Glads.
Oh, and the Glads used and committed ultimates for that fight. They used a Nano and a Primal Rage, which is not something that they're gonna... I mean, it is something that they're gonna have in that next fight, especially because of the fact Houston have both of their support ultimates on lock and this EMP to work with. So Gladiators, they're a little bit stuck for the moment. The way that they can negate this EMP is Lastro getting towards this rally, but is he gonna be able to do it in time?
Nice hack again. Babel being the focus. And there you go, sending him away as there is 2 clipped by the EMP from Yaki, getting Violet extremely low, but it's still Outlaws able to hold. This doorway has been their anchoring point and just going to continue to reduce the clock.
And this is where we're seeing the Houston Outlaws really put their pressure onto Gladiators, because now Gladiators are the ones who are acting reactively. Before on the offense, Gladiators were the one pushing that tempo, but now Houston are finally saying, we're going to start going aggressive, and the Gladiators are crumbling a little bit. They're using ultimates when they really shouldn't be. Like, Happy tried to bring that one, or Yaki tried to bring that one back, but there was no way they were going to win that fight.
Easy EMP on to 2. Clockwork right now from Houston Outlaws, just taking advantage every opportunity they can. Some subtle progression due to Danteh playing forward, but they're easily going to be reduced in health value for Fearless to get the melee.
And now it's about kind of for LA Gladiators, like, how do we break this defense? Because it feels like the Houston Outlaws have control of everything. They're rotating their ultimates effectively here, and Gladiators, they are going to get at least one more ulti rotation, and they need to be able to keep some of them to like brute force their way in. They can maybe make some economy pushes as well, get out the Nano, get out as well, so then you have a little bit of an advantage to really just push forward, because you're not creating any space.
Rally active. Pulse bomb comes through. There's enough coverage for Lastro, but not for Babel. Yaki down below has to translocate. They get out once again, and this is a chance now, though. Glad's able to get a decent amount of value with 2 so far. They've at least reduced the numbers, but Danteh's going to get overwhelmed by Fearless and saying, I'm here, and I'm going to continue to check you, Danteh.
Oh, Fearless is so good. He is hacked here. Will he be able to get out of dodge? Yes, he will. He lives with 104. I mean, really close there from him. He does commit the Primal Rage, and Houston commit a lot to that, and Gladiators won that fight by a really well-played counter dive from Danteh onto that backline, so now they have that ultimate advantage I was talking about to go forward with.
Ooh, Yaki gets out of there. Not allowed to be slept for the moment. And this is still a really challenging area to be, specifically by the pylon terrace. Nice job. Beautifully done. Houston Outlaws again with now just over 60 seconds, looking to deny the Gladiators from getting any further underneath this archway. And they're in a perfect position to really do this, as they've already done multiple accounts before.
Yeah, Danteh uses Primal Rage because I don't think they want to give up this position, but it doesn't find anything, and they have to retreat because their supports weren't there. So now Gladiators have given up this positioning. Yes, they have an EMP to work with, but on the other end, Happy's close to theirs as well, but Yaki's got to find some value. Oh, he gets the Translocator out.
Beautifully done. Hack onto Shu. Can they get the elimination? They managed to do so, trading 1-for-1, but there is a Kitsune rush from Outlaws that's going to amplify a lot here, playing towards this open space with the 3 avenues to maneuver through. Fearless now gets slept for the moment, buys a few seconds, but there's damage that comes in from a distance to shut down Babel. 30 seconds now remain for Glads.
That was actually a teleport Suzu from Violet to wake Fearless up in that scenario, and the stragglers are being taken down here. Yaki has to get out as well, and again, it's another fight where Gladiators use a lot and get nothing from it, and Houston win completely in the neutral. They're about to have 4 ultimates in their time bank, and Gladiators almost have nothing to work with, just the Nano boost.
Just in case.
Happy wants to end this now. An EMP could clutch this map, getting 2. Danteh vaporized, and now you will only have 4 remaining for Gladiators to turn this around. Yaki left out in the open, cannot elude that hack. That will be Houston Outlaws managing to make the 1 scoreline as they finish off the remaining few. Kepster with a nano boost. There's only a hope and a prayer as this overtime will wither away.
And that's going to be Houston Outlaws tying it up. I mean, they looked a little bit sketchy on their offense with how Gladiators were playing and off that first attack, but once they got into this open area and they could really set the tone in terms of their staging and the execution of their dives, they kind of just outclassed the Gladiators. And it was off the back a lot of what Fearless did. I think Fearless, again, kind of proving to everyone why he is the greatest Winston player to ever play this game, because of the fact he was getting into that backline, continuously making it a nightmare for Houston to work with. And there are some things that the Gladiators had to counteract the Winston, right? You had Sleep Dart, you had Whip Shot sometimes, but he was doing such a good job of avoiding those cooldowns and using his bubbles effectively that it was almost impossible to contain Fearless.
Well, and the other part too is the value that Happy was also bringing into this. It kind of feels like the early stages of what we had yesterday with Lip managing to, continue to put Glads in a very uncomfortable position. But now it leans into the question of how we're going to have Glads, as they've already shown, their adaptability. That key word to show what this adjustment's going to look like going into the third map and how they're able to take this next map advantage.
And I wonder where that adjustment comes from. Is it going to be them trying to focus down Fearless? Is it them trying to focus down Happy on the Sombra? Because we saw how good they were at dealing with Lip, who is the best Sombra that we've ever seen in Overwatch. So maybe they have an idea if Houston is going to continue to play this very aggressive style dive with the Sombra, the Tracer, and the Winston. They've kind of already dealt with that against Atlantis. So we'll have to see if Gladiators can make those adjustments on the fly like they did yesterday.
And we'll be able to see just after this break, so don't go anywhere because we're curious to see who's going to take the lead.
Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade up. Damage, then you gon' pay up. Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade up. Damage, then you gon' pay up.
Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade up. Damage, then you gon' pay up. Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Turn it way up. Turn it way up.
Crank that volume, turn it way up. Way up.
Welcome back, friends. We're here to continue on. 1-1 is the score, and we've got some new updates for you, as we do have an adjustment coming in here, and it's going to be Gargoyle stepping in to bring an alternative set of strengths to fight against Glads.
And Kai is also back in for Yaki, as we do know which map we're going to as well. It is going to be Havana, and I know some of the Houston fans are out there probably like, oh, it's Gargoyle yesterday, 2 maps and 2 losses, almost got reverse swept, but there's a big reason as to why Gargoyle is going to be in this, as we can look at the Winston stats on Blizzard World from both of these Winston players. As you can see, relatively similar between both of them, but it was Fearless getting a little bit more in terms of that final blows value, which is kind of what we were expected. But to be fair to Danteh, this is like him keeping up, right? You don't expect, Danteh potentially to be as like prolific as Fearless, who is, again, the greatest Winston player ever. But these stats on Danteh's end are still pretty good stats in general for Winston play.
100%. And with what we've seen so far, the adjustment now, like we mentioned with Gargoyle specifically, talked a little bit about what we're going to see going into Havana and the strengths that it does bring to the table on this. The Sigma is something you and I, on the break even was really starting to lean into to see what type of value and contribution it can be to the composition.
And I wonder as well, like what we see from the Gladiators perspective on this, because the Gladiators, when we look at them and like on this map, we saw them yesterday. Can Danteh play the Sigma? It was mostly like more so of that diva style, right? That's really what we saw Danteh playing when we saw Los Angeles Gladiators last time on a map like this. If they do opt in for the Sigma 1v1, I would be slightly worried just by the aspect of how good Gargoyle has proven themselves to be on this hero. But we know that Danteh is extremely smart, and that doesn't really leave it all. Mechanics can, say whatever you want about that, but Danteh has a good understanding of like pretty much every hero that he plays. So maybe they have some tricks up their sleeve to be able to help Danteh in that matchup against Gargoyle.
And then outside of just, the tank discussion, I'm going to be keeping a watchful eye on Happy and Kai, just looking to match up against also with Kevster and Pelican, them mirroring this DPS lineup to see who's going to be able to get those initial shots and potentially get some easy strides into taking these fights before they start.
Happy going to be looking for that grapple shot to kind of catch them off guard. And that's really the thing about these Widow duels, is like catching people off guard, right? There is something to also be said about recon darts from Kevster and Pelican, giving more of that information to help out their Widowmakers. That's something to keep an eye on as well, because that really could change how these Widowmakers fight each other if they do have some sort of information by those recon darts.
Happy playing a little bit closer into the archway there among the columns. Grapple shot to find the angle, can't quite get it. Kevster gets the initial pickup, and Happy critically low and needs to be cognizant of how they peak remaining, because Kevster's going to continue to put out these logs.
Shu is in kind of the middle of the map. Very lucky he doesn't go down there, but actually this is a rotation from Gargoyle that's all the way to the back. He's actually almost able to take down Kevster, but the healing is there to keep him alive. And now this is great for Outlaws because they have control of high ground. Never mind, Happy is dead to Kevster.
Yep. Yeah, Kevster has been finding value with this Hanzo consistently and continuing to rotate around the back, looking for a couple of shots onto Violet. Can't quite get the elimination, though. Able to weather those shots, but Violet actually shuts down Kai with a great volley.
Waiting patiently, Violet able to take down Kai, so that means there's a little bit more freedom for Happy to be able to use those sightlines effectively, as Danteh is getting chunked with the Discord and with the damage coming in from Violet.
Yep, and now as there is an easy pickup with the accretion, Gargoyle plays far enough forward to gain the space. This is a massive value proposition to play even further. Danteh is going to have a real hard time getting back quick enough to actually have a full 5 to compete against these last few meters.
Yeah, I don't know if they can stall. I mean, Kevster could potentially get like Dragon Strike or something to stall it, but I don't know if there's going to be a way back into this, and it looks like Glads will just give it back over, so we are going to be going into second from the Houston Outlaws. Violet really strutting their stuff on the Zenyatta as Kai gets a pick onto Pelican on the flank side, and this matchup between these snipers has been really interesting between the dynamic, again, between Kevster, between Pelican, and between Happy and Kai, because there has been some help with the recon darts giving that information over, while Happy hasn't really gotten that much value on the Widowmaker themselves. It's been a lot of Kevster just being the focal point.
As we see this payload slowly maneuver through, not yet out into the open space. Body shot lands the jump, denies the headshot as the Dragon Strike comes in from the right-hand side upon entry. Flux grabs one, Gargoyle's in it, but has the kinetic grasp to mitigate the fire for the moment. Gets a decent enough shield to withstand as Shu tops them up and looks for re-entry. Babel almost goes down, but Lastro sticking so close to give that extra support. And same thing with Danteh. That shield covering them consistently, as this is a really interesting two-prong positioning that's coming out from Gladiators with an angle that's not yet available to Kai, looking for the supports and shots coming in, but health values are so low, and a Dragon Strike is going to consume them in this small upper room.
And I mean, I think that the idea from the Gladiators there is sound to kind of like do that split, because they know Gargoyle is going to have Gravitic Flux, but just the incoming damage with the Dragon Strike following up against that Gravitic Flux, just too much for Babel to deal with. And Houston Outlaws are running through this secondary phase here. And again, I don't think the Gladiators are going to be able to touch, especially with how good the posturing has been from the Houston Outlaws right now. And even if they try, Transcendence is available for Violet to keep them alive.
And Gargoyle gets the... Oh, that's just an instant pickup onto Babel. Happy now, at least being punished, looking for a peek onto Kai, but down below towards the payload, you still see so much sustainability with the Transcendence from Violet. It allows them to reach these last couple of meters. Nobody can touch it. You are absolutely right. They are speed running this.
And I mean, I think that, again, when I was talking about earlier about this like matchup between Gargoyle and Danteh, Gargoyle is really just like putting his foot down, and it has like a really good understanding of like the mechanical usage of shield to create those sightlines for his teammates, where there's sometimes where Gladiators are just getting picks off the raw mechanical skill, but the Outlaws are just getting a lot of value. Look, this is Gargoyle really just pushing forward with Shu and giving him that cover to be aggressive. Gargoyle is playing this so effectively right now.
Yep, and if anybody steps out of line elsewhere, that's where Happy can find an angle. It's Shu just leading the charge alongside with the damage, making all of Gladiators uncomfortable, and we're reaching already this halfway point to the final stretch, and they are approaching these doorways already.
It's almost like he's got a sixth sense of like when to put the shield up, when to use accretion. Like he's covering a lot of the Houston Outlaws in terms of whenever they want to take these fights, and Danteh just hasn't been able to match up as well as we would have liked.
Yeah, you can see that spray consistently being placed. You are not prepared. Happy is just waiting to find someone in the open crosshair. Shot goes wide, though, from Kai. Can't quite get Violet eliminated as that Discord orb continues to be of value. He gets in, plays a little bit more aggressively, but Shu takes the battle in the low ground. One.
I mean, Shu there just says, I don't care that you're my old team, I'm taking you out, and that's classic Shu right there. Is Happy on a very long flank. Oh, recon dart. Really well-placed recon dart there from Kevster getting that.
The intel is key, as with now 2 minutes and 30 seconds, that's all that remains, and Houston Outlaws only a few meters away, Kenobi.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, that we usually talk about teams like, you're lucky if you finish, but there's still 2.5 minutes. Oh! Happy takes down Lastro's head.
Yep, knocks it clean off. That Omnic ain't gonna live for long. Is there a second shot onto Babel? The shield gets some coverage, but they're still left vulnerable. Oh, Violet, you're a little low for this one. Dangerous plays and positioning, but Gargoyle's gonna rotate around, flanking Kevster. They've opened up the opportunity. Kai gets a wild shot with only a sliver of health, but the damage is still done. The Dragon's through the center. No one can touch the payload. And Houston Outlaws complete round one.
Convincing there from the Houston Outlaws. And I mean, again, it was like, it felt like there was a chance. It's like a few of these like singular picks that happened in the neutral. Gargoyle was just pressing W with shield, and Gladiators had no answer to it. Not a single one. Like Gargoyle really as like the tip of the spear in this composition kind of just asserted his dominance. And this is like, this is why Houston signed someone like this, right?
Yes.
Because incredibly talented, right? We know how good they are, world champion, finals MVP. But you need someone to play these like things, especially on Esports. He's one of those players.
Yep, and we're gonna see just again. Yep, we're gonna try now and see if we can go to this replay at the moment with the Shu 2K. as we do have this high ground angle looking for a barrage of shots onto Kai, and we're even going to have that follow-up onto Babel. It's an Amp Matrix duel, and even with the assistance of Danteh, they still can't manage.
Dude, the chain is actually griefing him so hard during that. I'm pretty sure there's so many shots that are just hitting that chain, and it's not able to really like get the kills that he wants because his cursor's like right on him, but the chain is right there blocking some of those.
And to digress a little bit back to what you were mentioning, specifically about Gargoyle, it was not a great demonstration yesterday, but moments like these are really what amplify the importance of having, like you said, this individual on the roster and what they contribute.
As we see, Gladiators coming out on the offensive side this time. Not many changes to them at the current moment, but we're going to be seeing on the defensive end staying the same as well. So it's again about that recon dart, the information that they can gather from both these teams, and also the grapple shots. A lot of the Widowmaker 1v1 comes down to the surprise factor. That's one of the biggest things. So any information you can gain about where that other Widowmaker is, that can really help you out in terms of that.
And Pelican holding this cross angle is really nice. You're having to constantly keep looking towards that right and left-hand side, pushing through this. Lastro underneath alongside Kevster, looking to work in tandem with one another as anyone pushes out into the open. Pelican in the corner getting a couple of shots, but still can't quite eliminate Lastro down below, and they recover. They're making sure that they can hold both of these angles and deny this two-prong attack.
They also just have so much information, and you can't really poke this if you're Kevster right now because of the fact that Violet is just trained right on here with these right clicks. Kai does take down Happy, and Shu is down. That's all the healing lost for Houston Outlaws, and now might be a chance for Gladiators to go.
Yep, they're going to need to throttle onto this, taking as much advantage as they can. Kevster getting rid of their counterpart. Pelican eliminated. This will be a massive opening, a floodgate for distance to be gained. And it's in an interesting spot where they'll still get one last contest, but it's going to be very close to the checkpoint.
As the Gladiators keep moving forward, they will have Amp Matrix to work with, which is a big deal. Shu's not nearly close enough to theirs, so this is going to be an onslaught that I don't even know if the Houston Outlaws are going to be able to take, and if they want to take here. Yes, I mean, you can get Amp Matrix out, but is that really worth it?
Close encounter up front. Nice stun onto Danteh for the moment. The Flux leading into this does rise for two. Attempting to heal through it. The Immortality Field beautifully placed to guarantee that on the downward spiral, you do not have a respawn timer, but Violet in the back able to take down Lastro and looking shots, but is punished. And while they divert attention away, that gives an opening for Pelican.
Gladiators do have a respawn advantage, though. That is something that we have to keep in mind. Violet's not here either, so the Transcendence is not going to be here in time for when Danteh eventually does get this Gravitic Flux once the recontest comes in from the Glads.
Minute 30. A lot of things lining for Glads to secure this checkpoint. Not been as swift as we saw from the Outlaws, but they're still looking to capture it and maneuver in. Kai finding an angle, hits the tree. Can't quite get the second shot onto Shu, who does survive the amplification matrix and this reposition. It's crazy to see how they've been able to sustain through as Violet finally goes down.
Violet gets taken down here, and Pelican is down too, so that's a lot of long range that's lost. Kai does manage to survive through a shot from Happy, but this should be Gladiators taking control of first point and now starting to move through onto second here, with Babel again having a huge advantage when it comes towards that amplification matrix that's going to benefit them so much from walking through second. And the best part about it is that second is one of the best places to just kind of snowball, right? You win like one fight and you can get to third very easily.
Yeah, we saw it just when the sides were swapped. Dragon Strike comes through. A little bit of a separation for the team, but not too value gained, as there is a rotation back now. Happy looking to take this interesting angle underneath the bridgeway. We still have Shu high ground. And Danteh just patiently waiting until they can charge back up on this to look for a defensive position to try and keep this payload moving.
Shu is by themselves here. You can see Danteh is trying to poke them down and force them out of that area, but oh, Kevster's actually taken down Pelican. That's a big deal because now they can't hold this anymore.
Yeah, there was such an aggressive angle that Houston was taking up top of the window, and it is going to be punished, though there is at least something of value gained as Happy takes a wide angle out the stairway towards the outskirts. Almost gets that shot on the volley for Lastro, but barely survives.
Oh, Transcendence is forced as well from Lastro to keep the rest of the teammates alive. Can they find any kills? They need to find Gargoyle here.
Yeah, they've got to get something of this. Happy also just continuing to pull so much bandwidth away to the outside there. They can't seem to keep track of everything as Houston Outlaws continue to reduce this time bank.
This positioning is so good as well from the Outlaws because they're kind of in a position where Gladiators can't contest without just being shot from everywhere, but Bell goes down, so they'll have a healing loss from this composition. Lastro trades one back onto Pelican, but look at Outlaws, they'll just have control of this high ground.
They do, and the other part too is there's so many low health value Gladiators for several seconds. Kai, Kevster, and Lastro all just floating at that 50% health range and could never get topped up.
And the thing about this composition, right, is if you, I mean, it kind of feels like foreheadish, but if you aren't hitting these shots on the flanks, then it's totally a win for the Houston Outlaws, because they have all the advantages when it comes to those sight lines. Gargoyle is just sitting pretty up here on that high ground, and Los Angeles Gladiators haven't really found a way in because they can't take down these side angles.
Once again, they step out into the sight line. Easy regroup down below, finding an alternative angle with Kevster, just seeking somebody to eliminate, but can't quite find anybody. Shu is in the crosshairs looking to take him down, but again is able to jump out of the way for the final shot. Kevster needs to hit these, but unfortunately it's going to be Outlaws hitting the shots first. Transcendence active.
That's going to be a fight win. It's a complete fight win right now for the Houston Outlaws. And Gladiators, again, it's like we talked about it. They need to hit these shots because they are getting this positioning, but if they can't figure out these picks, the angles are just so overwhelming for the Houston Outlaws here. And I love this aggression coming from them. They know they have 44 seconds to work with, so they can be as aggressive as they want. Even if they were to lose here, the cart's gonna be pushing in overtime at the very most.
And if you see Happy or Pelican get a staggered pick right now out the gate, this is going to be disastrous. Danteh is so low, but there is a great chance to shut down Shu. Amplification matrix is still there, so for those within the angle, get the damage value boost. Oh, Lastro's got to survive. They're attempting to keep them going, but two are eliminated. Both supports are gone. 20 seconds. They're not going to be able to move as a unit through that doorway, and this is just falling apart for Los Angeles Gladiators.
I mean, Kai and Kevster are trying to make it happen, but Gargoyle is still alive and he's full health. If he can just secure these kills, it's going to be a win for Houston Outlaws, but he's struggling a bit. He needs to finish these members off.
He's chasing them down, round in the corner. The accretion doesn't land. The amplification is there. They've kept it into overtime. Now, Shu topping them up. They've bought some time, and they have the space. They're regrouping since it's slightly in favor of respawn advantage, and Dante's now onto the Doom.
And there is a Transcendence available here for Lastro to keep them alive. Shu is dead. That's all the healing loss for Outlaws.
Kevster, and they need the remaining half of this second checkpoint. Danteh, very focused, drops the payload as well as an obstacle. More seconds. They need one last engagement from Outlaws.
Has the power punch as well, going to see if he can find Violet in that backline. Gets chunked really heavily, but is going to be healed back up.
Yep. Utilizing the architecture to deny sightlines, the volley comes in, accretion down below, but the immortality field is there, and Lastro is down. The second falls through. Violet popping off. They have not chosen peace today. They've chosen violence, and that will be Outlaws managing to take the lead here, and you can see Glad stunned the outcome.
Gargoyle come in, finally gets their first win on that Sigma play. We saw the Diva yesterday, didn't work as well as they would have liked on the Outlaws side, but there, the Sigma, absolutely immaculate play coming out from Gargoyle. And this is why, again, they signed someone like this to have that off-tank in their back pocket when Fearless can't play these maps. And there are a lot of maps, especially in Escort, where Sigma just seems to be the most viable.
And not only just what Gargoyle was able to contribute to this, it was also how Shu was able to optimize as well off of how Gargoyle was playing. Everything. Just the center cogwheel of Gargoyle allowed every other one to feel so comfortable in their movement. It was just such a clean performance by Outlaws.
Yeah, I mean, on third, when we saw on the attack for Houston Outlaws, you saw it was like a two-man wrecking crew. Just Shu and Gargoyle walking forward with shields, and Shu is just there. It's like, yeah, I can do a bunch of damage. I can finish off these kills with Gargoyle, and that's exactly what they did, and they asserted their dominance very heavily on that map, so they do take a 2-1 lead. But Gladiators, we know them. They're fighters, and this series probably is nowhere near done.
We've seen the shield splinter, but will it break? We will find out after this break, so don't go anywhere.
Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade out. Damn, it's then you gon' pay up. Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade out. Damn, it's then you gon' pay up.
Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade out. Damn, it's then you gon' pay up. Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Turn it way up. Turn it way up.
Crank that volume, turn it way up. Way up.
It's the grand finals match just on the horizon here for the Houston Outlaws as they enter into their match point, but we cannot count Glads out. It's almost like one of those moments where we think about Maximus Kenobi, where they reach down to grab the sand, they rub it between their hands to feel the environment that's ahead of them so they can find the advantage. And we're going to be curious to see if that happens here for Los Angeles Gladiators.
I feel like every time we cast the Gladiators, it's just your chance to just like do like the Gladiator references, 300 references, any type of references for the Gladiators that you can bring to the table. But hey, I'm all here for it. But we're also here for some Gargoyle highlights who we saw yesterday on the Diva mostly, but this time on their patented Sigma. And boy, Rich, did it look absolutely fantastic.
It really did. The amount of value, not only just independently as an individual, but the almost effortless play that it granted to everyone else on this squad and enabling Shu on motions in what that's going to bring. But, you know, with us seeing Gargoyle, we can highlight, we can talk about, but we do have to recognize that there is going to be some adjustments when it comes to the roster because of the next map selection, which is Esperanza.
Yeah, and it's interesting that we're seeing Houston playing with Fearless back in the lineup for Esperanza. Not that it's interesting that Fearless is in, but yesterday they didn't do that. They actually had Gargoyle stay in for push, and it felt like it was like, okay, well, where is Fearless? Why isn't Fearless playing? But now I think it feels like this is a moment where Houston really want to close out the game, and they're going to be playing go back to their, you know, patented Winston. I think Danteh has looked good in the Winston matchup, like comparatively to what Fearless is as a Winston player, but I think this is like the best chance for the Outlaws to close it out right here, because going back to Control against the Gladiators is very scary. You don't want to play that team on Control map 5 where anything can happen. They've already won the first Control, so this is where they got to close it out if you're Houston, I think.
Yeah, and they just want to end it so that they can at least put a chapter conclusion to this one and then lean into that final chapter where they can face off against the champions so far that we've seen not be able to lose any map over the course of their time. But we're going to now look to enter in, as we said, to Esperanza to see how they're going to play this. As we want to, before looking into that, we can look at actually some stat cards from Fearless and why they're going to be bringing this Winston play back in to make sure they get that nail in the coffin, like you mentioned.
And I think for Fearless, the thing about him that I love the most when you talk about like his play style is always the fact that he seems like very cheat code-esque, where it's like he doesn't die. There's times where I'm watching Fearless play and I'm like, he should be dead. He should be instantly dead. There's no way that he isn't out. And then he just plays around some geometry, or he plays around his shield perfectly to where he can survive. That is like the ability of Fearless, I think, that makes him kind of elite more so than anything else. And also the primals. We saw that one primal, I think, that he did to, what was it, Kai, where he just primaled Kai all the way through Ilios, and just Kai never touched the ground for like 5 seconds. Like mechanically, he's incredible on Winston, but also his fundamental understanding of how the hero operates against whatever he's playing against. That's why he's so good. That's why he's a world champion, finals MVP. He's got those accolades, and he is the best Winston to ever play Overwatch.
And it's like what we saw as well when it came to Blizzard World. That was where things really started to heat up for Fearless, and being able to play the architecture on the map, really knowing where that their best positional advantage was, and then when necessary, needing to pounce onto Glads and really catch them off guard. And the amount of times that we did see the elimination onto Babel was repeated, and Funny Astro and their counterpart could not really do anything to keep them going.
And as we go into this map, though, it'll be interesting to see, because this is a map at Esperanza where we see a lot of Lucio Ana. So that gives another out for the Gladiators, rather, to be able to counteract those dives, right? You have Boop now in your back pocket. When we did see them on Blizzard World, for instance, it was Kiriko Ana. That means you really only have a sleep dart to deal with Fearless. Now you have something else. You have another way to stifle him just a little bit more, and we'll see if that continues going into this matchup of Esperanza, because it is Violet, and one of the things about Funny Astro is that his Lucio is so clean, right? That's kind of what he's known for. That's why he's in a lot of these maps. That's why he's in control. We saw it earlier on Ilios where he booped Fearless into the pit while he was in Primal Rage and won them a sub-map.
Yep, and it's those key moments that can really change the outcomes of these engagements. And the other dynamic of it too is because there's so many, nooks and crannies and all these different avenues and pathways and channels that you can take. Also, the viability of the high ground positioning and how you want to engage it, especially when we've seen these specific to that major checkpoint like we talked to, and utilize that catwalk. Understanding the ebb and flow to take that space with a Winston is so critical to look for that longer run return and being able to get extra distance so that you can just deny any recovery from your opponent.
And I wonder if we do see the Gladiators opt into the just full Winston mirror. Do they bring out a Diva? That is something Danteh has shown in the past. It is a possibility, I think, because it's always scary when you're like, do we want to mirror Fearless on the Winston? Because it's just so hard to do because of the way that Fearless operates and the way that the Houston Outlaws play around him. It's very hard to kind of do that thing where you're just like, hey, I want to dive the backline, but your backline is Shu and Violet, and it's not as easy. You have to pass so many skill checks, and this is actually something that I was going to be interested in. Do they run the rush? This is something that they have run on Esperanza before. Specific Ramattra is very adept at dealing with Winston in this counter matchup. He puts down Vortex directly like where the Winstons are going so that they have to, and they can't just instantly jump. So this is, I like this decision from the Gladiators if they do stick to this, because I think this is playing more to their strengths than just saying, hey, we're going to handshake the Winston against the best Winston in the world.
And there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that there are alternative options than just going Winston to Winston. And because they know that Fearless is so proficient in this role as this Winston, that I really like the fact that they're going to have it as well coming into this, playing forward, seeing what they can gain. The biggest question is what kind of value can be obtained before having to force out this Nemesis form, which we see Danteh use quite often and early in a lot of these fights.
Yeah, he wants to probably use them to like see if he can find someone in the backline if someone's out of position. Happy is already dead to Kester, though. That's a big pick. Nemesis form is going to be used from Danteh to keep himself alive a little bit during that anti, but oh my god, they're just rushing down Houston Outlaws.
The Vortex slowing. Violet can't really escape on any walls. Now you're going to completely surround and flank onto Fearless. They gain early and easy distance with this barricade.
And this is one of the scary parts about this composition from the LA Gladiators. Like, if you don't move quickly and you kind of just stand on ceremony and just wait for Gladiators are so adept, because you have Kai and you have Kepster, to kind of just play around as much as they want, right? They can rely on the fact that Kepster might just win, or Kai can two-tap someone.
And now we find ourselves at the common ground again. How is it that you're going to have Houston Outlaws jump into this to take the advantage? They opt to go straight on the high ground, slept instantly, and that's the danger of doing this without trying to take an alternative point of engagement. But Outlaws, despite them getting Fearless eliminated, both Danteh and Kepster down because of the pulse bomb that Pelican generated.
Pelican has been brought low. Kai is getting very low too. He has both of his healers on him, so he can get pocketed essentially. Funny Astro gets hit with an anti, so they do have to back off here, but I don't think Gladiators want to give up as much position as they are currently. They want to be able to hold this high ground and make sure that they can come back and recontest with a nano boost from Babel.
Yep, they've got time. Danteh's here. They can look to deny any progress forward. There's a nano boosted Fearless up top and instantly shutting it down to follow up onto it. Babel in return also going to fall. And this was quick work from the Outlaws, despite them losing a couple. Danteh doing at least the best they can.
Danteh got both supports, actually, and this is something that I think that against this composition, Gladiators are really good at, and Danteh specifically. When they know they're at a disadvantage, Danteh does this thing where he just uses Nemesis form and walks at the back line. Because he can block the things like the sleep dart, he can block, he can just get to the back line. There's nothing really to deal with it, so Gladiators kind of get themselves an extra life because Danteh just went to the backline, got those supports. Outlaws can't push anymore.
Pushing back to neutral, still having the advantage for now. Just about 10 meters worth of it as Kepster flanks around the backside. Checked a little bit, but hasn't forced the read yet. Gets the pickup onto Violet, who didn't get any healing and was a critical mass. And this is going to lean into more opportunity. Fearless with no longer having a bubble forces out the Primal Rage, which is the reason they could play aggressively. But the Deadeye in the back, Kai wanting to find it, gets a decent shot onto Fearless, who's still alive, but is not at all feeling the comfort.
Yeah, they have to get out as quick as they can, but Shu is taken down. That's all the healing gone. Happy gone too. And now Gladiators get this bot back, and they're going to be able to move forward extremely happily. They might be even able to checkpoint because of the stragglers that were taken down. And when the Houston Outlaws come back into this fight, they're going to have to deal with Annihilation and potential Annihilation, which is a fight-winning ultimate combo in and of itself. Luckily, there are some countermeasures on the other side. They have the nano boost, and they also have a sound barrier.
Pelican denies the touch. Nano. Oh, the jump
vortex
doesn't
is so
work because the vortex denies it. Just clipping them on the outskirts, and now the Annihilation is brought to the forefront. Babel has the nano boost if needed, and finally contributes towards the later end of that. There's so much armament and survivability onto Danteh, and the damage to follow through with it.
I mean, how smart is Danteh? I talked about it before. The vortexes that he uses to just make Winston's life miserable, it was just perfectly placed. Fearless is like centimeters away from making that dive work, but because of that vortex pulling him back down, the nano dive gets absolutely no value, and the Annihilation wipes the team of the Houston Outlaws, and this is a significant lead now for the Gladiators, but Babel is down.
I think they're a little frustrated with how that last engagement went. They are just going to instantly shut down Gladiators, but the biggest factor is that they've gotten the checkpoint. They have that to their advantage now. There's an attempt to retreat. Danteh's actually alive, and because these few that are still remaining can get away here, they have the chance to recover in that neutral fight again.
And you can see Danteh has actually gone over, or Happy rather, has gone over to the Sombra to make this matchup a little bit easier for the Houston Outlaws, because Danteh, if he's hacked, incredibly vulnerable to a lot of cooldowns on the Houston Outlaws side. So be on the lookout for where Happy is going to be going with a lot of these hacks to help out Fearless.
Yeah, the Vortex was used so early, so Fearless has the green button to go, and Pelican weaving through the front line, getting two with the assistance of Happy. Pelican just with the pulse bomb is going to look to try and just continue to harass and damage that Danteh play. Looking for the back line, but Bell has nowhere to go. They're locked in that lovely
Danteh's
little
took three.
Okay. Danteh's actually managing to turn this around despite I'm assuming that Houston was going to take this.
I mean, he does it again somehow during the crazy fight that was. Danteh walks to the back line with Nemesis form, kills the supports, gets another one off the back end of that. This is Danteh just taking the game over right now on this Ramattra.
Running the lobby, the Omnic King is here from Danteh, as this now Annihilation is once again available with ults and potentially the fourth to revolve around it.
I mean, for Houston Outlaws, luckily to stop the bleeding, they do have the EMP to be able to deal with that, and they also have a nano. That's going to be the biggest thing. Can they figure out a way to get these ultimates in time before the Gladiators jump?
EMP, well, that's well coordinated to eliminate one, but Danteh being covered by Funny Astro gives them a lot more survivability. In addition, with the Nemesis form dropping from the high ground, they've not yet committed the Annihilation because they're waiting to see if they can withstand this. Hack comes through, denies it for the moment. Kevster gets a pulse bomb, but doesn't get the elimination. Danteh, though, still holding this corner. They're just running the clock. 3 minutes and 40 seconds, still quite a bit to work with, but the Houston Outlaws are unable to really do anything as there's still a takedown from Danteh.
Yeah, and they're going to see if they can pull out some more ultimates from the Houston Outlaws, but they don't get that. They do get the nano and the EMP out from Outlaws, yeah. So now Gladiators can come back in with a nano Annihilation and just run at the Houston Outlaws. Houston Outlaws have to be so incredibly careful about this next fight because we are at 3 minutes, and with where bot is, how much of a lead Gladiators have, they can easily rotate these ultimates and just take us to map 5.
What a great engagement here, deviating away from the bot entirely because they know they have the time to do so to get that pickup onto Babel. The juggle from Fearless, but is shut down. Danteh right there with Nemesis form to completely give any way to Fearless.
And there's no way back into this. Oh, there is if Pelican is able to one-clip Astro like that, and now Gladiators will have to retreat. They don't have any healers whatsoever, and Outlaws will finally start to be able to move this bot forward. Maybe find Danteh off the back of this. The healing should be there, and should be there in time to be able to keep him alive. They did use the nano, but Annihilation is still in the back pocket for the Gladiators. So if Outlaws decide to dive into this, they do have to be wary of that.
That's 3 engagements now that we've seen Danteh hold on to this. Will they commit it into this 4th? They do. Leaning in, making sure that there is enough within radius to keep the cooldown active. But unfortunately, Houston Outlaws actually deviate away from it beautifully and deny any value to be gained.
Yeah, fantastic disengage. But, I mean, at this point, Glads have actually stolen the bot away. Kai is anti. Can they finish off that kill? Glads are getting so low.
Happy can't quite get the elimination again. Kai survives. Both Babel and Funny Astro keeping this back line, and DP PS going. Kepster with the pulse takes down Fearless, but there's an EMP to retaliate. Bunny Astro is far enough away that they do get the shielding out in time, and they hold on.
And it's another perfectly placed vortex by Danteh, who throws it off the disengage of Fearless, and Fearless can't go anywhere. The pulse bomb sticks directly onto him, and that's a fight win for the LA Gladiators, who again are in a position where they might be taking us to a map 5, a minute and a half left. Houston do have control of the bot though, and Kepster and Pelican dueling. Kepster should win this.
Oh, Kepster does. Checkmate. As we see them go back to the neutral. Again, intensity rises. The time, just over a minute. And now it's Gladiators looking to once again hold.
Nano available for She right here. Probably going to throw it onto Fearless for an engagement. Can Los Angeles Gladiators deal with it?
There's the Vortex up top on the bridgeway, so Fearless won't be able to come from that perspective, but there is a great dive with a nano boost onto Fearless. At this point, though, Glads is okay. They've got enough time to recover from this. They're nearing their ultimate. Danteh, yep, that is the instant response to this, and it is so beautifully done. They don't know from Outlaws how to handle this.
I mean, they can, and Fearless is gonna, I mean, he has to pummel, he's not gonna die, but that's a pick you are totally fine taking. Trading ultimate, like, maybe he might not even kill Funny Astro in this scenario, finally takes him down, but this is a worthwhile trade entirely for the Glads.
Babel harassed again. The double jump comes in due to the primal being removed, but Annihilation guarantees that Fearless goes down despite them taking a nap and shrinking just ever so slightly. It's still Gladiators in the driver's seat.
Bot is back in their control as well. 8 seconds left. This is last fight territory. Outlaws don't have anything. They need Happy to get towards this EMP.
Yeah. Everyone looking now at Happy. Oh, Happy barely survives. But the problem is that they're nowhere near. They can't get the EMP generated. They had to translocate out. So there's contention now from Fearless up towards the bot play in the corner. Nemesis form active in the back, though. The hack comes in. The EMP is available. Desperate plays call for desperate measures. Bolt supports are down. Danteh is low, but Danteh's still on the field and looking for more to take down. That's their saving grace. And this distance, they have to keep it contested, but Kai gets double in this back position, and they are able to hold on to it. Los Angeles Gladiators are going to take us to a map 5, and Kenobi Arch Live Beetlejuice is actually working.
It worked somehow, some way. We made it work. Map 5 again from the Gladiators. A perfectly played Esperanza from them. I think Danteh, I don't, maybe Dante's the best Ramattra in the league right now. The way he was just playing that map, absolutely impeccable. The Vortex is perfectly placed, made Fearless's life miserable, the rotations of the ultimates as well. And just the fact that, like, every time it felt like Houston Outlaws got the fight that they wanted with their engagements, Danteh would just hit Nemesis form, walk at the back line and say, okay, you guys literally can't do anything to me, so yes, we may lose a fight in terms of just numbers, but what are you going to do without your supports? Can you push the bot? We're going to have respawns eventually. Like, Danteh really took over this game completely on Ramattra.
Yeah, really never has allowed a 5-stack from Houston Outlaws to come back into it strong, and that's going to be the strat that I think we're looking to see continue moving forward. And I guarantee there's a lot of those sitting at home right now that are like, I'm probably going to use that idea in my next comp game and make sure that I continue to throttle as we do see from Danteh. But as we continue, we have reached another map 5. We are absolutely ecstatic to bring you even more Overwatch before the grand finals. So don't go anywhere, friends, because we're going to see who is able to move on. It's another map 5 here to all those viewing at home, and we are absolutely electric going into this. It is all down to this moment, Kenobi. No subs from either side, and we're going to be entering into our final control.
We'll see if the Gladiators can topple another Titan. I mean, we've seen the previews, David versus Goliath. Feels like Glads are feeling a bit like David right now. This is very much a David-esque run from them, coming from that group stages, beating Atlanta yesterday. Now map 5 against Houston. They won on control already. Houston yesterday was able to stifle Shock's attempt at winning control, but we're on Lijiang Tower, no subs. This is a map pick from Houston, which is interesting because if we do get control center, that's a very heavily Ramattra favored map, or any rush style, and it looks like that's exactly where we're starting off.
This goes so well for Gladiators on rolling the dice. They had a chance to find a strength out the gate, and they are here now, shields up for those in the chat, but they're still looking to see what their opponent's going to ante up with Outlaws to compete on this first round.
We've seen a lot of Winston from Fearless. But don't forget, the guy's got a Reinhardt still in their back pocket, and this is one of the first times we've seen kind of this Rush versus Ram style right now. I believe it's, you know, poor man, rich man, whatever we want to call it. It's a Rush style, and the thing that differentiates both of these teams is that the Reinhardt can just get in your face very aggressively, but Danteh has a little bit more in terms of utility to block some of that incoming damage.
Nice counter to deny up front. Already the Nemesis form active upon that potential pin from Fearless. Going in, swinging. The cryo freeze has already been spent though by Outlaws. Ooh. Pelican has no defenses, and Danteh takes advantage of it. And now moving up through the stairway, there's a counter pin in the corner, separating them from the team. The Nemesis is still active, and you actually have Gladiators looking to take this initial engagement.
The healing is there from Shu. The point has not flipped over yet, but Violet is down. That means the speed is gone, and now Gladiators can aggress.
They're so vulnerable. Nice wall for the moment to buy some space, but they work their way through that far left pillar to keep continuing this pressure.
Oh, Kevster goes down though. That means there's no wall, and this might be the Shu's on the other foot right now. Shu has got an amplification matrix as well. Gladiators have to retreat.
Yep, they're going to lead into that. They need to make sure they are not in sightline. You can see Kai tumbling out of the way. Danteh is a sitting duck between a massive block of ice, and they will swap it back.
What a pick that was onto Kevster. I think Gladiators would have loved to have just continued to hold right there. The sleep comes in onto Fearless to stop Houston from aggressing, but Gladiators now have a lot to chew through in terms of getting through this chokehold, specifically because you've got the Symmetra turrets as well, and Happy can just sit here firing and poking down, but Los Angeles Gladiators might just brute force their way in with Ramattra.
Yep, seeing what they can do with it. There's a lot of... oh my goodness, Fearless just has to abandon ship. They've got to flee so quickly, especially with the Bionade. The wall actually doesn't help Gladiators for the moment, so it buys just enough space. But with Pelican down, a Shatter peeks the corner. It's going to be a beautiful sound barrier along with a nano boost to counteract that and drive forward. The photon barrier does cause some disruption and divide the center position. They can't quite yet get Fearless until Kevster finds the icicle.
Oh, the Annihilation is so good, too. It's going to wreck through the entirety of the health bars of the Houston Outlaws, and Gladiators will take back this point. They do have a Blizzard to work with as well on Kevster's side. Pelicans got one of their own, but Gladiators used a lot to win that fight, and Outlaws, Shu's got another Amp Matrix. Violet's got a tempo beat as well. They can just brute force their way in here.
Still sticking close by. The Blizzard watchful for both. Typically see the second one always being a lot more advantageous. TP comes to the back position. Vortex going to slow their momentum down from the high ground. Nice separation. Kevster throws the Blizzard. Pelican still holds on, with Violet also giving that sound barrier for withstanding any type of damage. Outlaws play this beautifully. They swap it back over, and they've taken the numbers advantage. There was no way that the Immortality Field could keep them any longer alive.
But there was a huge anti-flip onto the backline. Violet's the only one alive. Kai and the rest of the DPS are still here. They're trying their best to focus him down.
They've actually still held their ground despite the early opportunity that they got in numbers. Their utility and cooldowns allow them to keep this going.
Oh, and they can maybe find Violet off the back end, but what an ante from Babel. Completely turned that fight on its head, taking down Shu, and Gladiators still have control of this point. Houston Outlaws coming back in. Blizzard at the ready from Pelican.
They've eluded the pin. Kai is still alive, but left in the corner of the wall and the Blizzard itself, so it will be an instant shutdown. Now with the cryo freeze just looking to, again, buy time. There is no way that you're sticking around for that one as it's swapped over.
They're just trying to get as much as they can here. Gladiators gonna recontest. Houston Outlaws doing the smart thing, just holding close as best as they can. Nano is available from Babel. They also have the sound barrier from Funny Astro, so they can, if they want, just try and get really aggressive here and get Danteh that Annihilation to go even more so.
Yep, that's what they're going to look to lean into, but a separation here onto Kai is so vital for them. But with a return, Danteh does what we've seen before, go straight for the support line. They're nearing that Annihilation with a photon barrier in the center. Nano boost onto Danteh, getting critically low, but Shatter knocks them down, but Funny Astro is there once again, a second time for this. Fearless cannot follow up onto it. Now with the photon barrier gone and the wall up trying to cause disruption to the team, Happy can't withstand the damage, and Gladiators are coming back into it, and they utilize the Annihilation.
Oh, the Annihilation gets so much work done, and Houston Outlaws, I think that they don't have the way back into this. You can see Gladiators are playing so far forward. Shu has no way to get back onto this point, 97%.
It's going to be so difficult. Can anybody even get there in time? They can't. This is Gladiators now taking the first round, and again, utilizing this map specifically for Danteh on this Ramattra, and now are only 1 round away from bringing another upset and finding themselves in the grand finals.
Glads could potentially create another huge upset. We are on a different map here, which means that this is a map that is so much more favorable towards that Winston dive composition. Gladiators could still theoretically play that Ramattra comp, but the thing is, if they're going to do it, they need to get to point and they need to play in enclosed areas. They don't want to play out in the open with a composition like this. They can potentially just get onto the point and stifle the dive there, but it's going to be very difficult. You see Kevster actually going over towards the Symmetra. I wonder if this is a Symmetra TP to point angle. No, they're just going to get a little bit of...
Yeah. They'll get the initial distance because they know that Fearless is going to dive in quickly with the rest of them. Happy looking for the flank. That's going to be the big thing, though, is you're going to have the Vortex to deny Fearless to dive out, and they find the collapse onto Shu, left on the bridgeway, alone from the team. Nice takedown, though. Pelican comes in to even the score, but it's still going to be Gladiators lighting up in the kill feed to take the advantage.
The way that Danteh is just able to split the team with these Vortexes is so impeccable, and then once they know that Fearless has used all their cooldowns, they just run at that backline. Shu can't do anything, and Gladiators take control of this first point.
Danteh holding the inner corner, still getting a decent amount of chip damage with that auto fire, and it can accumulate a massive amount of damage. And there's going to be Kai finding Violet in addition because you had the damage from Danteh. And now this aggression forward. Nice recovery though. Happy gets 2. That is so vital for Outlaws.
Oh, Shu might have brought that one back for the team, but Danteh is still alive and he's punching them down with Kevster still there, and Gladiators looks like they've won this fight.
Yep, Danteh just going to recover every time they run the bridgeway until finally Pelican gets them low on the outskirts. It is still Gladiators gaining percentage here because they're keeping this in contention, but Outlaws just now with recovery can get back and swap it over.
They're still stalling best they can. Pulse Bomb comes, or doesn't come out from Pelican. Recalls just in time. Gladiators will have to recontest here. Go through White Room. There's no way that you can fight this out in the open. They want to just brute force their way onto this point right now, but they have to be worried about Pelican coming in this enclosed area with the Pulse Bomb.
White Room is the focus for entry. Looking to see if Pelican can get a pulse bomb here. The recall that early is going to be so challenging to work through, and that gives an opportunity for Gladiators to lean shoulder first into this, and they will just bash Outlaws out of this position and take it back.
That was such good communication as well. As soon as they got that shot, Kai hit a direct headshot onto Pelican, and once they knew that Pelican had recalled, they just instantly went in knowing that if Outlaws are going to commit to this, they're going to be at somewhat of a disadvantage, and Gladiators take back control of this point. Outlaws are going to have a huge ultimate bank to work with here, but how much of it are they going to have to commit just to take this point back?
Only time will tell. As Happy weaves their way into the back line. Patience, the communication. Oh, and they deny it. The Vortex again denies the dive to get into the best position. There's still value to be obtained, though. Pelican gets it. They keep Fearless contained a second time. Vortex first, Sleep second. Now with the Primal Rage to knock them off the edge. You aren't able to jump away in the Vortex, but the damage of knocking them off the edge has landed.
Fearless somehow manages to get 2 with that Primal Rage. I don't think that the Gladiators knew that that was a possibility, but they were playing way too close to the edge, and Fearless, with his monkey fist, is able to win that fight and bring it back for the Houston Outlaws, only using 2 ultimates, which is huge for them in their ability to continue to, accrue that percentage and potentially take us to a 3rd sub-map.
Well, we have to look here. The Annihilation looking to lead into this. Happy, waiting to get a decent hack. But again, it's the communication between the two. Stick doesn't land. It's so low onto Funny Astro, and Pelican finds the weakness, the cracks in the shield. They are able to continue causing disruption and just bringing down Glads, but Kevster isn't done either, doing as much work as possible to counteract the value that Pelican has brought to this engagement. It's about to be swapped, but they can't keep on the point. 71% in climbing, and Outlaws about to bypass them with an anti and the sound barrier to guarantee that they're still in this.
Finally uses sound barrier, so that means Danteh is going to have a free annihilation for this next fight, but Shu came in so clutch with a couple of nades there, being able to take down Funny Astro so early, and at the very end, 1v1ing Kai on that Cassidy. Houston Outlaws in last fight territory here. Los Angeles Gladiators only have this annihilation to work with, and they're very close towards a beat from Funny Astro.
Happy had to translocate out. They saw them underneath there. Catching him out is not what you want to see. Nade lands onto 2. So there's recovery. Funny Astro top back up to go into this. Vortex is going to prevent Fearless from diving in if they stay close. The Annihilation active, going for the supports, as we've seen time and time again. You've got Outlaws dodging out of this. They're going to give space for the moment because they'll get one last shot.
One last shot, but they have EMP to work with. This is going to be a lot on Babel right here. Can Babel find a way to use this nano to keep one of the members alive who are hit by this EMP? Because Houston are going to come in with their own, and with that EMP, Houston cannot die in the neutral, though. That would be worst case scenario.
Yep. Patience. The control. The necessary end for Outlaws. The nano goes. Oh no! Kai gets the damage. It brings them out of the fight. Babel is gone. It's a 1-for-1 trade. The EMP in the back. It's 2 though. Pelican and Violet work together to try and turn this back. They need to get back to the point, but Danteh is here. Everyone from Glads. The upset is going to happen. They just need to eliminate the last few. We heard yesterday. Oh wait, but there's a dive back in. Fearless just looking to buy some more time, but they're constantly being picked up by Kai. There's no way that Houston Outlaws can come back from this. We heard the roars of victory yesterday, and today you can hear Gladiators once again saying, "Are you not entertained?"
The shoe, the slipper still fits. The Cinderella story continues for the Los Angeles Gladiators, taking down Atlanta and now taking down Houston. Everyone's brackets are shattered. The desk's brackets are shattered. There is no way anyone, besides probably just the Gladiators themselves, thought that they would be making it to the finals of the Pro-Am, but here they are, continuing a miracle run for them off the back of what I consider now to be the best Ramattra play we've seen in Overwatch League so far. Danteh is absolutely unreal on that hero.
Hands down. There is no competition at this moment. Just the lucrative understanding of how to play this. We saw it multiple attempts, and they played to their strengths in this control map, which is what was absolutely necessary. We talked about specifically going on to Lijiang Tower and the obstacles that they were going to face. But again, leaning into control center first was the biggest boon that they could have asked for out the gate. And even when they did deviate away onto Gardens, that was more favorable to Outlaws, they still played it masterfully and stepped up when they absolutely needed to.
I mean, I think you can look at a blueprint of if you're in ranked and you want to play Ramattra and you're playing against a Winston, just watch Danteh play. Every single Vortex just felt like, even if it's not hurting the Winston or anything, it's just creating so much space, and then his ability to just when the fights devolve. We talked about it with Gladiators all the time. They are the best team when fights are just no longer in neutral. When it's mid-fight, they can just instantly pounce on your backline. Kevster, Kai, Danteh this series. And who else can we give player of the match to, I think, besides Danteh, especially after those first 2 maps? Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, no debate. And everything that we've had from talked about on the desk going into this, Danteh was saying they were looking forward to be able to compete against the Outlaws, and they can say, holding their head high as the player of the match, that they really put on a performance.
And I mean, his Winston wasn't bad either. The thing about Danteh is that when a lot of people, I think we're talking about, the Glads, the Scrimbuck Stock Exchange, Glads aren't looking too good. They're not looking great in scrims. Danteh is the solo tank. Can it happen? Yes, it can. Danteh, no matter what you talk about in terms of mechanics, right? Danteh is one of the smartest players that I think we have in Overwatch League, and it feels like if he can get a few, days, hours, minutes, it feels like Danteh's that good on any hero. He can make it work for the team, and this Gladiators team is a force to be reckoned with, especially if this meta is going to continue, we do sometimes have these fights where it is just so elongated. The mid fight happens and it devolves into the chaos that the Gladiators want to be in.
It really is. And as we do come to the conclusion of this second semifinal map, that means that there is only going to be the grand finals that are remaining. And we are looking to see if Los Angeles Gladiators are going to be the kryptonite to face off against the Florida Mayhem. But Kenobi, that is going to do it for us today. It has been an absolute pleasure, as I said yesterday, an honor to be here, to have so many maps across 2 days. It was electric. And from us here, I'm Rich Rad.
I'm Kenobi.
And we are so happy to see the conclusion of this, as we're going to throw it onto the desk afterwards before entering that grand finals.
There we have it. Make sure to gear up on all your favorite OWL gear before the opening weekend, which is very soon. We're gonna take a look at one of the revamped 2023 team jerseys. Here is the Gladiator one, fresher than ever, as you can see. All you have to do is head on over to the League shop to get yours today. They are looking slick, not gonna lie. And the slick look was what they showed us on the server today, as well as they took down the Houston Outlaws. And what a match it was. It must be something in the air, and Kenobi and Rich Red are casting. The map 5s are just, they're raining from above.
Yeah.
Apparently that's just a thing. We love it. We absolutely love it. What a great match this was.
Yeah, it was super, super fun to watch, and I feel like even when we were previewing it, we were all like, this is going to be so close. Still is a toss-up, no matter who's going to be able to take it, but it's so neat to be able to see just all of the stops get pulled out for this one. I feel like every single time we look at the Gladiators, they show us a different sums to themselves, Danny.
No, I definitely, I feel like Gladiators, just every match they play, it seems like they're like evolving or leveling up, like every single match. And it's just, even it's crazy how we going into the match, we knew that Houston Outlaws, they're a great Winston dive team. Like Fearless is a great Winston player, but I'm just surprised how well Danteh and the rest of the Gladiators sort of managed to fend off the Houston Outlaws, and just going toe to toe even on the Winston mirror. Not only that, moving into the later half of the match, that switch to the Ramattra brawl was such a smart choice made by the Gladiators. And I think that played a huge part in them winning the whole series.
Yeah, I mean, just the way that Danteh was cycling through those cooldowns, you could hear Richard and Kenobi really calling out just the high level of skill expression that's come through. And I feel like there's still even more to go with that. So the more that we've seen Danteh on the Ramattra, the more I am convinced at the moment that he is the best Ramattra in the entire Overwatch League right now. And it's not even just the Ramattra skills and the brawl that I feel are really high points we have to call out on the roster, but also just a team effort overall. Like Danteh showed up a big way when he was the tank for the Houston Outlaws last year, and this year too. You know that he's been putting in so much work, so much effort to be able to improve both in and out of the game, and it's showing not just from his gameplay, but the team as a whole.
And then there's
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And there's those guys. I mean, across the board, I think they all had really highlight-worthy moments. And as a team, I think a lot of people did not have them on their radar, but that is changing now. I think they really put up such a great performance today in this match and yesterday already. So I am thrilled to see them advancing into the finals and see what they have in store for us there. However, for now, we're going to bring in our player for our winners interview. We're going to have Funny Astro joining us. First of all, of course, thank you so much for joining us, and a huge congratulations.
Hi, thanks for having me.
All right, Funny Astro, that was... Oh, sorry. Were you gonna go first? Wait, was I going first?
No, I was just thanking him, or...
Oh, yeah, thank you.
You go ahead, you go ahead.
I'm sorry for cutting you off. I was just... That match was just crazy. It was just so fun to watch. I do really want to ask you about the Ramattra brawl, the Funny Astro, because I think starting at Esperanza, you guys came in with that Ramattra brawl. Was this something that was sort of planned beforehand, or was it something just out of the moment, like heat of the moment? You guys knew that, going into the map with Fearless coming back in, knowing that they're going to come out with the Winston type, so did you guys sort of at that moment say, hey, we should go with the Ramattra brawl?
To be honest, Ram is something we've played a lot, something we've been trying a lot in scrims. We've had a lot of success with it, and it's one of our default comps for Koth and push maps. And today it just felt really good to play Winston dive, because Danteh was getting insane value just destroying the enemy backline.
No.
Yeah, that was evident. And I mean, talk about your role in that a little bit, Funny Astro. You come into the roster on these Koth and push maps playing the Lucio for the most part. And so what do you feel like is your role to help enable that? And what do you look for when you're trying to enable that rush?
Well, usually I'm just trying to keep Babel alive against the Winston Sombra Tracer comps. My job is just keep Babel and Kai alive. Occasionally I'll go in the front line and go with Danteh and try and kill the enemy backline, but it's pretty much anything. I can do anything on Lucio.
Well, you and your team are just so much fun to watch. I love how dominant the performance was today, but you do have one more match to go, and that is the final. So, of course, I want to pick your brain here on your opponents. I think a lot of people not only didn't expect your team to end up in the finals, but also the opposition, the Florida Mayhem. What is your read on that team?
They're a pretty flexible team. They seem to be able to play a lot of different team comps. So I have no clue what they're going to try and play against us. But we can play pretty much anything against them, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right, so it's going to be a game of chess. I like it. I can't wait to see who's going to come out on top. Of course, going to let you get back to your team as you got some work, some studying up to do before you're heading into your next match. Thank you so much for joining.
No problem.
Thank you.
And best of luck in the finals against the Florida Mayhem. Always great to hear it from Funny Astro, and I am so excited to see both those very flexible teams, as he just said himself, end up meeting in the finals, because it can go any which way in terms of comps, which is going to be really, really entertaining. Now, chat, we do have, as I say like 100 times now, finals are coming up very soon. The last two Goliaths are standing, Florida Mayhem and the LA Gladiators. Who you think is going to win? Vote in the poll on your screen right now, and you know, we need to give both of those teams a little bit of a break before their big game, but don't go anywhere, because the desk will be right back to break down all the action for you.